Good day everyone. I am Sheham M. Alan, the little teacher of Study Hub number 6. So in this video, we will discuss the module 3 which is Organization and Management of Learner-Centered Classroom. So before that, I would like to introduce my group mates, Asneya T. Abubakar, Najla S. Sabuddin, and Jenny M. Balawing. So before we discuss our topic, let me introduce the objective and introduction. Objectives. Number 1, to be responsible educators in an increasingly complex and challenging the world. Number 2, to educate learners to be productive in the learner-centered classroom. Number 3, identify the difference of the learners in terms of learning, thinking, analyzing, managing the environment. So, introduction. As a teacher, we are dedicated to become proficient, productive, responsible educators in an increasingly complex and challenging world. We do not just instruct, assess, and guide our students, but are challenged to serve as effective classroom managers to our students towards quality learning. So letter A, form of learner-centered classroom organization, procedure, and physical structure. So in physical setup is one of the most important components in teaching. It reflects your teaching style and it also reflects you. How we design our classroom has an impact on the way our students think clearly, conductive learning, environment promotes effective teaching and learning. Number 1, room structuring. A, for individualized learning. This setup learning center or station of student to work at their own pace depending on their abilities and interests. It is a method of teaching in which content, instructional, technology, and pace of learning are based upon the abilities and interests of each learner. Letter B, for group learning. It organizes them around table or cluster of desks. You can organize them in group of 4 cooperative learning. Means cooperative learning is often thought of as a subset of collaborative learning that involves more teachers' intervention. The structure design the task and a group structure for accomplishing the task, including the assignment of roles to group members. Letter C, activity-oriented classroom. This set up a large table for cooperative project provide a space for wet or messy projects. Classroom activities are activities done by students inside the class as a part of applying or doing the practical part of the lesson after listening to the theoretical part which is presented by teachers. So number 2, classroom routines and procedure. Establishing routines is not that difficult. For a teacher who are strict and non-negotiating, establishing a routine send a message to the student that they should cooperate in maintaining order in the classroom. So according to Erlinda D. Serrano and Ana Ruby M. Paez, classroom events that can be routinized are the following. Getting the attention of students to respond to a particular question, reaction, and etc. Correcting homeworks in class, excusing oneself from class for emergency purpose or use of the comfort room, hosting of visual aids on the board, updating oneself of the lesson when absent in class, going out of the room during break time, clearing the table and desk after performance of tasks, sweeping of partners on discussion, forming participatory groups, reporting and sharing of response. So, benefits of routines. The following are reasons why faithful observance of routines is highly beneficial. 1. Routine procedure help in freeing the minds of teachers to think about other matters in teaching. If every time an activity is performed and a teacher has to consider some option on how to do it. Number 2, establishing routines on how to collect assignment or distributing materials enables to the teachers to focus more in his or her lesson planning. Number 3, in the execution of lesson, a teacher who has routines for calling on the student is relieving himself or herself of the burden of worrying about whom to call next. This allowing for more time to focus on what are being shared by the student. Number 4, it is easier for the student to predict their teacher next more, and armed with such knowledge, they can concentrate and learn more. Number 5, stability is assured especially for the new student who are unfamiliar with the class rules. 6. Reduce anxiety on the part of a student who do not know how to get involved in different class activities.
Good day to each and everyone. My name is Jenny Balawing. Now, I will discuss about the forms of learner-centered classroom organization, procedure, and physical structure. I will continue the report of the last reporter. I will discuss about the social, environmental fairness, respect, care, and encouraging learning. What does that mean? In every classroom, the most successful learnings occurs when teachers are facilitators or achievators of learning. Learning is more engaging when the classroom climate is welcoming to all learners. When the teacher's management plan is fair, consistent, and organized, the students understand what to expect and can make wise choices and take responsibility for their actions. Teachers should be a model of good communication and behavior for them to evaluate. Now, I will discuss also the number 4, creating motivating learning environment. The meaning of that is the foundation for any learning must be built on a safe, positive, and nurturing learning environment where there's open communication. Develop a learning environment where students feel motivated to learn within the boundaries and expectations of a safe classroom by modeling and encouraging a safe environment and purposeful rules. Students feel motivated to do the right thing and help one another. Now, I will discuss also the 5 effective ways to get your student excited about learning. The first one is encourage student. The meaning of that is students look to teacher for approval and positive reinforcement and are more likely to be enthusiastic about learning if they feel their work is recognized and valued. Encourage open communication. Praise your student often. Recognize them for their contributions. If your classroom is friendly, where students feel respected, they will be more eager to learn. The number 2 is get them involved. One way to encourage students to be involved in the classroom is teaching them to be responsible. Make participating fun by giving each student a job to do. Giving students a sense of ownership allows them to feel accomplished and encourages active participation in class. The number 3 is offer incentives. The meaning of that is setting expectations and making reasonable demand encourages a student to participate, but sometimes students need an extra push in the right directions. Rewards give students a sense of accomplishment and encourage them to work with a goal in mind. And the 4 is get creative. The meaning of that is avoid monotony by changing around the structure of your class. Teach through games and in discussions instead of lectures. Encourage students to debate and enrich the subject matter with visual aids like colorful charts, diagrams, and videos. Create a warm and stimulating environment. The last but not the least, the number 5. Draw connections to real life. The meaning of that is showing your student that a subject matter is used every day by real people, given it new importance. If they see how it applies to them, they may be motivated to learn attentively. That's all my report, and let's welcome the next reporters.
So, good day everyone. I am Asnayati Abubakar and I'm going to discuss the learner-centered classrooms, which are roles and responsibilities. So, student-centered classroom involves changes in the roles and responsibilities of learners and instructors in the delivery of instructional strategies and in learning itself. These all differ from those in the traditional teacher-centered classroom. So teacher, number 1 is recognize and accommodate different learning modalities. So teachers should recognize the different learnings of learners. You should know what are the differences in terms of learning, thinking, and others that you could also give help for them, and also accommodate them for being different. Number two is provide structure without being overly directive. So this statement is to give your learners a better structure without being directive. Like you should test their critical thinking if they can analyze your instructions without being so overly directive. So number 3 is listen to and respect each learner's point of view. So teacher should give also respect their point of view because not all have the same mindset. Learners have different thinking and point of view. A teacher should do is to listen and help them or respect their opinions. So number 4 is encourage and facilitate learners shared decision making. So it means teachers should accept what the learners shared to you. You need to give them your acceptance in their decision making. Encourage them to make a better, facilitate them in what they should do and they should not also do. So number 5 is help learners work through difficulties by asking open-ended questions to help them arrive at conclusions or solutions that are satisfactory to them. So teachers should also share their knowledge to the learners. They should give some tips to what they are hard to deal with. You must help them to grow also. So let's go to the learners. So number 1 is learners are active participants in their own learning. So they become more active if they have understood your lessons, instructions, and anything. So number two is make decisions about what and how they will learn. So learners should have an outline for what they should do in making decisions. Number 3 is construct new knowledge and skills by building on current knowledge and skills. Learners should apply or add to their new knowledge and skills from their current knowledge and skills. Like what they have learned before, they should not neglect it. Instead, build it to construct new knowledge and skills. Number 4 is understand expectations and are encouraged to use self-assessment measures. So, to help the learners, it is to use also as self-assessment measures. They should know how to give assess to themselves, and it helps them to. So, number 5 is monitor their own learning to develop strategies for learning. So, teachers should not just also teach learners, they should also monitor them or look after them if they have learned and understood the lessons. This helps to develop their strategies for learning. So, number 6 is work in collaboration with other learners. They should also collaborate with the other learners, and as they will share also their knowledge to the others for them to work together. So number 7 is provide work that demonstrate authentic learning. So give some works that they can also demonstrate it. It should be also authentic to the learners to demonstrate it properly. So, letter D is the role of discipline in learner-centered classroom. So, we have collaborative class norms. It is always start with the basic. Every class should have short list of class rules or norms that develop together positively praise. So, developing this list as group allows students to see the why behind the rules and buy into how they are enforced. Create three to 5 rules that tell everyone what they should do and not what they should not do. So the teachers just facilitate the development of the list, not develop it yourself. Work on how you rephrase and narrow these rules. So number 2 is we have logical consequences. Are disciplinary actions that intended to teach students to make better behavior choices rather than to punish them. One of the best ways to teach our students to accept responsibility is to use logical consequences. So logical consequences teach students the hows and whys of a good decision rather than making them feel sorry for making bad choices. So, the goal of logical consequences is to help students develop internal understanding, self-control, and a desire to follow the rules. So, logical consequences are respectful of child's dignity, while punishments often calls upon an element of shame. Make sure that your consequences are connected to the misbehavior.
Good morning to each and everyone. My name is Nadsla Sabudin from BS EdMath 1S. I am the last reporter of this group. My topic was about the 3 types of logical consequences. Logical consequences are the natural outcomes that result from a child's action with others or with property, meaning the adult guides the child to take responsibility for any harm caused or damage done. First is time out or take a break. It is not a punishment. You are not punishing the child for misbehavior. Instead, you are asking them to take a few minutes to regain self-control and to think over what just occurred. When students make a derogatory remark about another student's response to a question, you take a break and let the student realize what he, she, or just said. Second is, you break it, you fix it. As a future educator, use this type of logical consequences when you see an opportunity for a student to solve a problem they caused. When something has been broken, feelings has been hurt, or mess has been made whether accidentally or intentionally, the consequences is that the one responsible for the problem takes responsibility for fixing it. Example, one child has accidentally knocks into another on the playground. She stops, apologizes, and offers to help the other child. Last is loss of privilege. Use this type of logical consequences when a student does not follow expectations. Use this type of logical consequences when the student defy, test, or simply forget the rules. Example, a student speaks rudely to the teacher refuses to listen to her, him until he changes her tone of voice. And now I proceed to tackle the other role of discipline in learner-centered classroom. Consistent application. A class without consistent practice can often be chaotic, but creating an environment that welcomes uniform responses to behavior, choices will support each student's understanding of expectations. Unchanging rules and regulation ensure that students and families understand classroom norms and know what to expect when those norms are not met. Second is student specific. When responding misbehavior, take into account the social, emotional, and cognitive skills of the students, as well as what's happening in the situation. The consequences for the student might be the same, but you might practice more with the students or have been reflect on their behavior. Next is time for resolution. Develop routines for resolving conflicts. This is not a skill that comes naturally to students or adults, so be prepared to guide and instruct. First thing though, provide the space and time for this occur. The last is calm spaces. It is the space designated for students to work throughout their emotions that can limit their success in class. As students can go there to do some deep breathing, a few stretches, or even squeeze a stress that ball can calm themselves before returning to the lessons. Calm spaces help children practice mindfulness and develop skills they need to identify their emotions and communicate them when necessary.
Overall, the organization and management of learner-centered classroom requires a shift in mindset from the traditional teacher-centered approach. By focusing on the students and their learning needs, teachers can create a more engaging, inclusive, and effective learning environment. This approach encourages students to take ownership of their learning and develop skills that are essential for success in their future academic and professional career. So, in a learner-centered classroom, the organization and management must be designed to support the individual learning needs of the students. It should be collaborative environment where students take ownership of their learning and are encouraged to explore and discover knowledge.